Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we're going to be playing on the American roulette wheel. That's the 00 wheel, for those of you who are not familiar with it. Now I don't recommend that anyone ever play on the 00 wheel unless you really have no other option and you really want to play a roulette. But as long as you have an option, always choose the single zero wheel, as the payouts are the same and the house edge is pretty much half of the 00 wheel, so it gives you a better chance. The payout are the same, and you have one less number to deal with. As you can see, we have a 00 on this wheel. Also, the layout on the wheel is also different. So when I bring you a European strategy, that is only for the single zero wheel. When I bring you American roulette strategy, that is only for the 00 wheel. So I'm using a 1200 unit bankroll for this strategy. This strategy is a very simple one. It's called the hat trick system, and the way it works, we're going to be covering 10 straight up numbers, and we're going to be using a very simple progression. The three count, most of you may already know how it works, but I am going to make one slight change to the progression, so I'll explain as we go along. So the numbers that we are covering are 1 to 6, number 8, 10, 20, and number 26. That's the 10 numbers that we're going to be covering. The reason why we are choosing these 10 numbers, it's on the wheel. These 10 numbers are scattered across the entire wheel. Wherever the ball lands, it will always be a 1 to 3 spots away from our cover of 10 numbers, so it gives us a pretty good chance of hitting. So let's just force a spin and then get started. I'll show you exactly how it works. Now I am just using a 1200 unit bankroll for the strategy, but it's straight up numbers that we're playing. So if you have more, you can always use a bigger bankroll, probably 1500 units. Now remember guys, units can be anything. It can be a 25-cent wager, 50-cent wager, but if you can afford it and you want to take the risk, then you can play with a 1500 unit bankroll, but I'm just using a 1200 unit. Let's see what's going to happen. So we had a hit there on our first spin, so as long as we're in profit, we are going to restart the entire progression. I am playing for 10 units per session. As long as I have 10 units in profit, I am going to take a break of 5 to 10 minutes and then come back again for another session, for another play for another 10 units in profit. Alright, so I just forced the spin there, and I'm going to pretend that I took a 5 to 10 minute break. You are not going to do that guys. You're actually going to take that 5 to 10 minute break and then come back again. So we are up 26 units in profit. My target is going to be 36 units, but as long as I'm anything above 26 units in profit, I'm going to take that and restart the entire progression. So I made my cover there. This is spin number 1. I lose on spin number 1, so I rebet spin number 2. I'm using a 3 count, as I mentioned before. So I lose on spin number 2. I rebet. This is my third and final spin, spin number 3, and I lose all 3 spins. Now when you lose on spin number 3, you are going to increase 1 unit to each of your bets. So we are rebet our 10 numbers. I'm adding 1 unit to each of my bets. I restart the count, spin number 1, and I have a hit on spin number 1. I'm playing for anything greater than 26 units in profit, so I'm up to 48 units. This is where you take a break again of 5 to 10 minutes and then come back again. So I'm just going to force a spin, pretend that I took that break. Remember guys, you are not going to do this. You are actually going to take that break. So I got back from my break of 5 to 10 minutes. I restart, I cover my 10 numbers, I restart the count, spin number 1. My overall target is going to be 58 units. I lose on spin number 1, I rebet, spin number 2. So let's see if we can have a little losing streak going, so I can go a little more in depth into the progression. And we have a hit again. So I'm playing for anything greater than 48 units. I'm up to 64 units. I am going to take a break again, 5 to 10 minutes. So another one of our number just came there, number 5. So we rebet. I'm going to restart the entire progression, playing for anything greater than 64 units. My overall target is going to be 74 units. This is spin number 1. I have a hit again. So I take a break, 5 to 10 minutes. I'm just going to force a spin, pretend that I took that break. So I restart the entire progression, spin number 1. As you can see, wherever the ball lands, it's always going to be 1 to 3 spots away from our cover. As you can see, 1 is there, right there. Number 10 is also right there. So we lose on spin number 1. We rebet, spin number 2. So my overall target is going to be 100 units, playing for anything greater than 90 units. I lose on spin number 2. I rebet, spin number 3. I lose all 3 spins. So remember what I said, guys, when you lose on spin number 3, you are going to rebet and increase 1 unit to each of your bets. Restart the count, spin number 1. We lose on spin number 1. Rebet, spin number 2. Lose on spin number 2. Rebet, spin number 3. And we lose all 3 spins again. So I'm going to rebet, increase 1 unit to each of my bets. I came to the end of the count there on spin number 3. So I increase 1 unit to each of my bets. I restart the count, spin number 1. I'm covering with 3 units on each of my bets, playing for anything greater than 90 units in a profit. So I have a hit on spin number 1. I check my profits. I'm still not above 90 units, so I'm technically down. When you have a hit on spin number 1, you are going to minus 1 unit from each of your bets and continue the count. Spin number 2. I lose on spin number 2, so I'm going to rebet my current bets, continue the count, spin number 3. And I lose on spin number 3, so I increase 1 unit again to each of my bets. And I'm going to restart the count. So I'm up again to covering with 3 units on each of my bets. I restart the count, spin number 1. I have a hit on spin number 1, playing for anything greater than 90 units in profit. I check my profits. I'm up to 116. So my overall target was 100 units, because I was up at 90 units, playing for 10 units in profit. So I've made my target. This is where you log out, you take a break again, 5 to 10 minutes. I'm just going to force a spin. Now you already made a 116. That is let's say that's your daily target. So you are going to stop play when you have made that, but I am just going to continue to get a losing streak and show you how you play a losing streak. If you start straight out the gate with a losing streak, how we are going to play it. So I force a spin there. I'm going to restart the entire progression, 1 unit on each of my bets. Spin number 1, and I have a hit again. So I take a break, 5 to 10 minutes. I force a spin. I'm up to 142. Playing for anything greater than 142. My overall target is going to be 152. I restart the entire progression. This is spin number 1. I lose on spin number 1. I rebet. I continue the count. This is spin number 2. I lose on spin number 2. So I rebet for the third and final count. Spin number 3. And I have a hit on spin number 3. So I'm playing for anything greater than a 142. I'm up to 148, so I'm going to take that 148 and restart the entire progression. So now my overall target is going to be 158 because I'm playing for 10 units in profit. So spin number 1, I restarted the entire progression. So I have a hit there. Spin number 1, so I'm up to 174 in profit. You take a break, 5 to 10 minutes. So another number just came there, so that's number 3. So I restart the entire progression. I'm up to 174 in profit, playing for 184, my overall target. As long as I'm making anything above 174, I'm going to restart. So I lose on spin number 1. I rebet spin number 2. I lose on spin number 2. The ball landed right next to number 8. I continue the count, spin number 3. Right next to number 10. Number 1 is also there. So I lose all 3 spins. I increase 1 unit to each of my bets. I restart the count, spin number 1. I'm down to 144. In profit, I'm playing for anything greater than 174. My overall target is going to be 184. So I check my profits. I'm up to 196. So I take a break again, 5 to 10 minutes. So I'm back from my 10-minute break. I'm going to restart the entire progression. Back at 1 unit on my cover. Spin number 1, playing for anything greater than 196. I lose on spin number 1. I rebet spin number 2. I lose on spin number 2. Rebet spin number 3. So let's hope we get a little losing streak here, guys, so I can go a little more in depth into the progression and we have a hit again. Okay, so I'm not finding that losing streak that I'm looking for. So I'm up to 202. I'm going to take that and restart the entire progression. Spin number 1, playing for anything greater than 202. Lose spin number 1. I rebet spin number 2. I lose on spin number 2. I rebet spin number 3. I lose all 3 spins. I'm going to rebet and increase 1 unit to each of my bets. Restart the count, spin number 1. I have a hit on spin number 1. I check my profits. Playing for anything greater than 202. I'm up to 224. So I'm going to take a break again, 5 to 10 minutes. I'm not getting that losing streak that I'm looking for, guys. Okay, so I'm back for my 10-minute break. I'm going to restart again with 1 unit, restart the count, spin number 1, playing for anything greater than 224. My overall target is going to be 234, and I have a hit again. So I take a break, 5 to 10 minutes. I'm just going to force a spin. So remember, guys, you are actually going to take that break. You're not going to do what I'm doing here. Don't get greedy. Just make the small profits and come back again 10 to 15 minutes later, you know. So I'm just giving you a rough estimate of 5 to 10 minutes. So you can take 15-20 minutes break if you want. The longer the better, and you don't want to stay too long on the wheel, just in case there is such a thing as a wheel tracking you on your betting patterns. You don't want that. So we lose on spin number 1, we rebet spin number 2. Now that is just my honest opinion, guys, about the wheel tracking you. I have no proof to back that up, but it's always better to play safe than sorry. So we have a hit on spin number 2. So I was up at 250. My overall target was going to be 260. I'm up to 266. So I'm going to take a break again.